So I've taken that Lesson 6 folder and I've renamed it, and it has assets that I want to use, and I'm not going to use whatever's in there now as far as an AEP file. I'm going to create one from scratch. I'm going to put it in this folder. So we'll fire up After Effects, and what we'll do is we'll go in here and we'll create a new project, and then what we'll do is we'll establish our AEP file. So we'll call it L6V1 on my desktop, and I want to look for the folder that I created, and there's my folder there, and I want to make sure it's going into the end project folder, because that's where multiple versions of my AEP file are supposed to go. So now that I've got that done, I'll make sure my project folder is highlighted, and you can see it's got a blue highlighted. And again, a shortcut, you could double click on there and get to the import dialog box, and then again you can find your master folder. And at this point I'm going to go to assets, and I'm just going to go to this one. There's only really one asset right now that I'm interested in, and it's called Sunrise, and it's a PSD, which means it's a Photoshop file, which means that it probably has layers in it. So I don't want to import it as footage. So down here where it says import as, I'm going to change that to composition retain layer sizes, which means it's going to keep my assets at the original sizes when it creates a composition, because that's what I'm going to do with this Photoshop file. Because I want to keep all those layers intact, I'm going to create a composition, and then I'm just going to go open, and it's going to warn me again. And of course I'm going to make sure that I have editable layer styles, so that if there's any drop shadows or anything like that, I can go and fix them. If I choose merge, I'm not going to be able to adjust them or change them. Again, you can see up in here you've got Sunrise, the composition, and then there's a folder, and the folder contains all those various elements in there. Again, if you hit the tilde key and go full screen, you can see the composition has no file path, but all these layers have a file path. And if you look very carefully, you'll see they're all going back to your assets folder, which resides inside your master folder. That's why once I've done this, I can't change the name of that master folder. And wherever I import this from, if it's not assets, then what happens is they'll be offline, because it's going to want to look for whatever that file path was when it was created. So again, that's why it's so important to understand how workflow is very, very important. So what we'll do now is we've got this all set up, and we've created our composition, and we're going to now use this composition to set up our master composition. So we'll double click on this, and of course now it'll open that up, and for all intents and purposes this is going to be our master composition, which is of course same name as the folder. It's called Sunrise, and then you can see it's all open. You can see all the layers, and of course we're going to make some changes to this. So we're going to go to composition up here, and then we're going to go to composition settings, and what we're going to do is we're going to change that duration. Right now it's about a 30-second, which is usually default. I don't need that, so I'm just going to highlight all those numbers and enter value 1000, which based on drop frame time code 30 frames per second is 10 seconds, and that's all I really need for this particular project. So I've got that done, and you can see the timeline. If you press play, it plays over to 10 seconds, and absolutely nothing happens. Why? Well, because their Photoshop files are still images, and nothing is going to happen at this point. So this is now my next challenge, is trying to make all this stuff come alive. So that's what we're going to do next.